Living in South Dakota, I don't get the opportunity very often to ride a roller coaster. And as a kid, it took me a long time to actually ride a real roller coaster. You know, the one that takes you really high up and then you start going down and then it twists you all around and spits you out at the end. So now I take the opportunity to ride one whenever I get the chance, since here they're in such short supply. In the last few weeks, however, I have apparently created a roller coaster ride of my own. Getting to share your first stab at a new creative art form with a live audience of over 100 people at each performance is quite the emotional experience. But my risks paid off and the stress was well worth the result. The first time that I won a writing contest was when I was in the 3rd grade. And I was shocked, since I knew there were so many strong writers in my class. Despite Mrs. Iorlano's acknowledgement of my work, however, I never really felt that writing was a way that I could contribute to the world on a regular basis. Our society doesn't always champion the arts as a profession when asking kids what they want to be when they grow up. And when it does, the words writer and author and playwright rarely show up on the list of careers to research. Because of this, and because I never really felt that I had a creative ability to think up a story, I dreamed about being a dolphin trainer or about selling cars at Saturn. Clearly that didn't pay out. Then, at 11 years old, a story found me, and it's continued to weave itself long after I was declared a cancer survivor. Once my treatment was over, from 6th grade until my college graduation, I lived by embracing experiences, from late night fun with friends to circumnavigating the globe on a 3-month voyage with semester at sea. I kept journals and I started crafting a book. And even though I knew my cancer experiences and subsequent adventures were unique and engaging, I put up the pen and I declined to finish the book in favor of service to others. You see, I let survivor's guilt guide my career path after college, as I spent 3 years as a full-time volunteer with 2 fabulous organizations in rural West Virginia, Bethlehem Farm and the Alderson Hospitality House. From learning the stories of others to baking 20 loaves of bread in a day, building countless wheelchair ramps and fences, to teaching about sustainability and creating rich friendships, those experiences will continue to impact me in a positive way for the rest of my life. But even though I believed my work was doing good, I felt unsettled. So I devoted myself to a master's degree and a career in education so I could help people help themselves. I moved to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota, one of the poorest communities in the country, and I taught and I learned. And then I continued my career by moving to the South Dakota capital of Pierre. And somehow, even though I had never heard of competitive theater programs, I was offered the opportunity to not only teach English, but to also coach oral interpretation, and later on, the one-act play. One of my favorite books, my freshmen are reading it right now, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, teaches about following omens and to discover and live out one's personal legend. And in many ways, I feel I've done just that. But it hasn't always been easy for me to listen to the omens in my life that say it's time to move on. But when I have, it's always led to just the right new experience. Writing this play about someone else's story has been a test for me in getting up the guts to share my own. I've made a lot of decisions in my work in terms of what others need and how I feel that I can contribute and give back, as if I owe the universe for the help that it brought me when I had leukemia. I didn't survive merely because I had the strength to do so, but because others offered up their skills, time, and support. And I've felt for the last 2 decades that I've had some sort of cosmic debt to pay, and that writing and sharing my story was too selfish to be enough. Well, I've obtained a lot of goals that I've set. I've beat cancer, traveled around the world, married a great guy, pursued an advanced education, I've learned how to make puff pastry, I've written a play, and I don't want to be the crystal merchant and the alchemist. I want to see this one through as well. My graduate thesis for Goddard College, this amazing school in Vermont, was about teachers being practitioners of the content they teach. So next year, I'm going to step back from coaching and teaching to refocus my energies towards creating that reality. Recognizing one's personal legend isn't necessarily that easy, however. And apparently, right before one is about to reach one of their largest goals, according to the alchemist author Paulo Coelho, the universe puts up the biggest challenge yet. Apparently, beating cancer once wasn't enough. Almost positively, as a result of my total body radiation I needed as part of my leukemia treatment, I found out last week that I have breast cancer. So, if my new goal is to be a 2-time cancer survivor, then I guess I'm going to have to up the book writing goal to at least 2 as well. Like I said, when I started, the past weeks have been a roller coaster. But the prognosis is excellent. And even though cancer is a really scary word, this is going to be a piece of cake in comparison to my 5th grade experience. I've been pretty darn positive, but there have been some really dark moments as well, including the thought that maybe the universe is trying to right some cosmic wrong, and that I wasn't even supposed to survive the first time. But my husband quickly set me straight on that. And that negative idea also really started to fade away since between phone calls and play rehearsals and lesson plans, I've had some really strong ideas starting a course in my head. Part of my plan to focus more on my writing next year has also simply been to take time to be better. To be better at listening to and respecting myself, to be better at sending letters to friends and making everyday decisions that would benefit others, to being a better steward of the environment. And I don't want to give up on that quest in the face of this upcoming cancer experience. So I'm asking you to join me. My community rallied around me and my family 24 years ago with fundraisers and t-shirts and countless acts of kindness. And I know that it played a huge part in my recovery. This time, however, I'm not horribly sick like I was then. And even just a small number of people that I've told already have made me feel extremely supported. So instead of directing an immense amount of care and kindness toward me, please redirect it toward yourselves and the environment and others. We need more good in this world. If I've had 2 cancer diagnoses, and I believe that I am still meant to live this life to its fullest, you should too. Many people doubt their worth, but I'm here today giving you permission to focus on you and your dreams. Tell me about them. Show me the work that you do but might not think is good enough to share, like I was brave enough to do with my play and will eventually do with my books. If you are doing things that bring you joy, you make the world a better place. Sometimes it's the smallest phrase that can make all of the difference in an interaction, for the positive or for the negative. So let's try to be better in our interactions and seek to spread more positivity. My students should understand what I'm getting at here. For many of us, focusing on ourselves or interactions with others can seem a bit abstract. We want to be actively doing something. I love to cook, and I know that it's going to be difficult for me to do for a little while. But it's just my husband and me, so we don't need lots of casseroles on our doorstep. He also doesn't really like cheese. So, could you instead make one for the family down the street that could use a home-to-cook meal and a reason to gather around the table? Send me a picture if you do, and the recipe. That joy will lighten my day. But let the record reflect, however, that I will not turn down a small container of tater tot hot dish. The last piece that I mentioned about being better for the environment is a bit trickier than self-love and kindness towards others. We might need a little bit more guidance and information. So maybe we can share a cup of fair trade organic tea and talk about what we can do to help the world. If the terms fair trade and organic seem a little frou-frou or foreign to you, then maybe what I can do is write some blog posts sharing what I've learned and seen about how we can be better consumers and caretakers. It will help me get better if even just a few of you pledge to be better yourselves. To yourselves, to each other, and to our earth. I've started my quest to share more of my writing with this talk today, and I'll continue it on my blog. So meet me there and share your stories about being better. Right now, my heart is racing with the chink, chink, chink of the roller coaster as I climb the mountain ahead. But I can already feel the wind in my hair, and I hope that you'll join me for the ride.